Welcome to Perimenopause with Dr. Lauren Ward-Selinger, naturopathic physician and Menopause Society certified practitioner, focusing on integrative health support for perimenopause and beyond, bringing you applicable tools and information to help you on your journey. Enjoy the ride that we will share here on Perimenopause. Hello and welcome to the Perimenopause podcast. I am Lauren Ward-Selinger. I'm a naturopathic doctor in Bend, Oregon, and I'm a Menopause Society certified practitioner. And I am so honored today to have my friend Beth Buchanan here. I'm going to let Beth go ahead and just introduce herself.
I'm Beth Buchanan. I'm a board-certified holistic nutritionist, and I practice here in Bend, Oregon, and my practice is Nourished.
Awesome. Great. So Beth and we run the Perimenopause together with our friend Melissa Keene. And we work together as colleagues and we are friends and just have lots of overlap. And it's just super fun to work together. And one thing that I just really appreciate about you, Beth, is your just very logical approach to everything and just really deep thoroughness with looking into issues. And anyway, so I want to hear all about what you do and I want our audience to hear all the details. So tell us kind of your population, what you specialize in, what you love to do.
Okay. My favorite is perimenopause, and that means you have to be good at the hormone situation, the hormone world, as well as digestion. And then my third avenue there is really metabolic support, and all of those go really well together. So people kind of either show up with the hormone questions, or they show up with digestion, or they show up with blood sugar issues, but then it ends up being the whole picture. Mm-hmm. So my favorite is that 30, 40, 50-year-old woman, and just how beautifully those all come together. Yeah.
Yeah. So is there a lot of overlap in those things?
Yeah. There's so much overlap. So we were talking the other day just about how people, they show up with different symptoms and then you kind of have to go, oh, well, this is how it's connected. And we can't really metabolize and get rid of hormones if our digestion is messed up. And then that actually leads into wonky blood sugar. So everybody comes with maybe one or two symptoms or questions. And then it all really just shows up in this big picture of like, yeah, now we've got everything to support.
Okay, great. I love that. And I see that too in my practice for sure. Yeah. With perimenopausal women and really everybody in general, but it is more noticeable in perimenopause when these hormonal fluctuations are happening.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that. Yeah. So what do you feel like are, from a nutritionist standpoint, the dietary traps of perimenopause?
Okay, this is like this massive retraining. I still have some women coming that are a little bit afraid of fat. And so we have to do a little retraining. And that's kind of our parents' generation, right? But that kind of trickled down. A lot of people love fat. So that's great. I get a lot of this fasting, and we'll talk details on like good, bad, and different there. I get from like a caloric intake and just the food choice intake. Maybe they're eating enough, but the nourishment isn't there. The time of day is a big issue. So we have to, if we're going to maybe not have food for a certain time of our 24 hours, what's the best time to do that? That's not going well for a lot of people right now. So undernourishing, maybe the timing or the fasting side of things isn't really working for them. And then protein, and that's everywhere, right? Everybody's like kind of making fun of it or, it's my job to eat protein, but it really is a thing. It's a thing. Protein is so important for your immune system, for digestion, for neurotransmitters, for hormone production, thyroid. And this is always my easy little tidbit. I say 100 grams is kind of where I start with most women, kind of depending on activity level or depending on goals. But it's about 30 grams per meal. And then there's probably other things that show up in there. I mean, I am a big animal protein person. But if we put that into calories, it's almost 400 calories.
Wow.
Of maybe our 15, 18, 2,000, however many calories we need a day. So while 100 grams a day sounds kind of crazy to some people, if you really put that into the context of the big picture, it's only 400 calories.
Wow.
And it does so much for the safety signal. I talk a ton about safety signals, especially in perimenopause. And getting the right amount of protein is a safety signal. Like, hey, body, you've got the things you need. Now go get your job done. Yeah. So those are a handful.
Yeah.
Those are a handful.
I love that, though, but they're all very approachable. And so I love this, breaking it down. It's about 400 calories. And that's about a third or less of your calories in a day. And so if you think about the third of your plate being protein.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, I'm not a calorie counter. I will educate on macros and do a lot of, here's kind of what it should look like. I do about half your plate is low starchy veggies. Great. And then somewhere, depending on about how much comes in there. About a third is the protein. And then the carby thing is root veggies, it's grains, it's maybe the sweeter fruit and legumes, right? That's all my carby thing. But if you just look at your plate, that's such a great, easy way to be like, my breakfast should have about half my plate is some veggies. I got a good chunk of protein. Here's my starchy. Don't go too low on starches. That's another trap. That's another trap is we are getting into this low carb situation and during perimenopause that will absolutely get you into trouble for mood, for hormones, for weight. That's a big one. We didn't mention it. But yeah, just the vision of your plate. And if it kind of looks like that, 3 meals a day, I'm probably doing pretty decent. Easy.
So I feel like it comes up a lot for me, how to get that plate at breakfast.
Oh, yes. This is so good.
Do you have any great hacks for that?
So I am a mom of 2 littles, right? I have a husband. Our schedules are really nutty. I've got my own business, all the things. So we have to meal plan. There's no way around eating well unless you can pay somebody to do it, which I would love, but I don't. You have to meal plan. So we do a lot of Sunday morning. I'm up a tiny bit early just because I wake up, but I'll do a big thing of sheet pan veggies and maybe I'll even do different kinds. So I've got a little variety throughout the week, but that will buy me a solid 3 days. Between me and my husband, we've got sheet pan veggies. My next one is always some version of a cold. So it's, I love cabbage, arugula, any kind of greens that I almost do like breakfast salad sounds intense for people, but kind of a cold green thing. And maybe I put eggs on it because that heats it up, or I have well-sourced sausage or something like that. So that's my 2. Okay, great. I've got a good chunk of veggies in there. If you do a smoothie, I'm not a smoothie person in the winter, but you can easily get different veggies in smoothies like cauliflower rice. I'm a big fan of raw carrot, raw zucchini. I'll put a little chunk of raw beet in there and for variety, right? Just stuff you might not think of beyond spinach and whatever greens. But those are like 3 pretty easy. Yes, I can keep that on rotation. And I've got veggies in every single one of those. But that's tricky. I get that a lot. Like, how do you put veggies in breakfast?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I love that. And I like to do sauteed green.
Yeah.
Crack a couple eggs on top of it. And they just kind of meld together. And then it's so good. You put some chili crisp on there.
Yeah.
So good.
That chili crisp is so good. Okay, let me tell you one more of my favorites because we'll have leftover spaghetti squash. I'll fry, if you will. I'll put avocado oil or butter in my pan. I'll do my spaghetti squash, get it a tiny bit brown, and put eggs in that. And it's a tiny bit sweet and a tiny bit crispy. And then the chili sauce would be really good on that. Spaghetti squash. That's my sleeper, but it's so yummy.
Okay, and so tell us, for people who've never maybe made spaghetti squash before, because it looks kind of intense. Like, how do I cut it open? How do I get the seeds out? How do I cook it?
Good. I cut it in half, so long end, cut that baby in half. I'm going to reverse. I chop off the end where the stem is, because that gets a little wonky. Cut it in half. Do a little scrape out of all the seeds. Then I go face down in a glass Pyrex. And I do put holes in it. I stab a little knife in there and I put water in it so it steams a little bit. And it's probably 25 minutes at like 375 in the oven. So that maybe was a dinner thing that I will save half of it for breakfast.
Okay. Yeah. Easy. Probably tons of fiber in that, I would imagine.
There's not a ton, but there's fiber in it.
There's some.
There's fiber in it.
It's a plant too.
It's a plant. And it's variety.
Okay, great. Yeah. I love that. Okay. So we've covered breakfast. I feel like lunch and dinner are a little bit easier for having the plate visualization. Talk a little bit more about the carb restriction in perimenopause and how that affects people negatively.
Okay, so kind of the go-to, and there is a place for keto in certain populations, or maybe for short amount of times, right? There's a therapeutic approach. I am otherwise not the biggest fan for, I'm going to lose weight. However, so when we talk about like how do carbs show up, how are they most therapeutic? So when we're in perimenopause, we're a little bit more volatile, if you will, in the progesterone estrogen world. That can really directly relate to cortisol and our ability to handle stress hormones. The adrenal glands need some carbohydrates, and that's where cortisol is being produced, right? So when we have enough, and I say enough is somewhere between probably 25 and 40 grams. And again, I'm not a big gram person, but it's 2 servings.
Okay.
Tell people 2 servings of carbs at breakfast and carbs at lunch. You can go lighter at dinner, and we can have a conversation around sleep and how that affects that if we need to. But that is going to, again, front load your day with a safety signal of, hey, adrenal glands, you've got some carbohydrates. Hopefully they're like nutrient dense and it's not Wonder Bread. But there's a place for your really yummy sourdough. There's a place for sweet potatoes. There's a place for huevos, and you have beans on there. So all of those things show up to say, hey, adrenal glands, we've got a little bit of some carbohydrate, a really nutrient dense carbohydrate. And now cortisol is actually dampened later in the day. So it's a similar response with protein. If we front load our day with protein, and I say 30 grams, let's pretend it's also 30 grams of carbs because it's easy numbers. Later in the day, we have lower cortisol production. That leads to better sleep, better insulin resistance, and being in a fat usage mode in our body versus a fat storage mode. So we maybe earlier in our years, we could get away with a lower carb. Hey, and look, I can lose 5 pounds in 2 weeks. That will not be the same case once estrogen starts to get disturbed and progesterone, and then cortisol comes into the picture and has a really strong conversation that now our body can't buffer as well.
Okay.
It gets a lot of people.
Yeah. And I hear that all the time. A lot of people come in and they're like, the things I used to do don't work anymore. And that's one of them. I would just clean up my diet and I would lose the weight, or I would feel better in my pants and whatever. And it's just not working anymore.
It's just nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
So
that totally makes sense.
Like, I love blood sugar, and I feel like it's something that in the big wide world, we are not necessarily told we can affect as easily as we can. So I like to do a ton of education around that. But as we get into perimenopause, and you know this, but as estrogen starts to kind of have these highs and lows, we are less sensitive to insulin. Our cells become less sensitive. So then we've got insulin resistance can kind of creep in, and people are like, but I eat really well. So maybe you've changed nothing, but then your blood markers are changing, or the pants situation is changing.
Yeah.
So then we have to go, okay, from a physiological standpoint, how do we support that? It's not decrease your carbs and eat less and work out more, because that's cortisol, right? That's high cortisol, which means gain weight. But it is, maybe we're more strategic about strength training because we really want to support our muscles' ability to get glucose in, maybe without insulin, but with exercise. Then we also have to say, okay, what's the timing look like when we're consuming the food? Because those are safety signals there. We haven't even talked about coffee. Do you want to go into coffee?
Sure.
Okay, let's go into coffee. So I do have a lot of people go, when we are doing our little free meet and greet, am I going to have to give up coffee? And I'm like, no. Very rarely have I straight up taken coffee away from anybody. But we have to make it gentle and make it a safety signal. And so I either say, I'm like, bargain with me. Meet me somewhere. And it is, what is it paired with? And what time is it showing up? My perfect world, it is coming with a meal. If you can delay it, say an hour-ish from wake up, that's great. That's also a nice little safety signal, but you don't have to. Let's pretend you're my person that's like, listen, this is my lifeline. I get up, my husband and I have coffee together or whatever. I sit out and I have this moment, and it's the only reason I get up in the morning. Fine. Then you have to have a good source of fat. And I'm a big fan of half and half or heavy cream. Thrilled. Don't use the whole bucket, but that's a lovely safety signal. I'm also a big fan of collagen in there if you're willing to do that. So now we have a little extra amino acid support, a safety signal there. Then you can have your coffee pre-breakfast. I would love it with breakfast. So you don't have to take it away, but when it shows up, let's pretend I get out of bed, I stumble to the coffee pot, I do my thing, and then I drink coffee without my buffer of fat and on my empty stomach. Then it is this initial emergency conversation. Those poor adrenal glands are already like, run from a tiger. That then will say, blood sugar stays higher longer. Like for the rest of the day, blood sugar can stay higher. And then cortisol is higher later. So it's this perfect combination of you already don't have the same resilience you had because of perimenopause. Now we're adding a big stressor that we maybe love and have this relationship with, but we can make it softer. So you don't have to take it away, but please put a good fat in there.
Yeah.
Or eat it with your meal.
Yeah. And collagen's so easy.
Collagen's so easy.
It dissolves, for anybody who doesn't know about it. It dissolves in your coffee. You can't even taste it. There are some brands that have more taste than others.
Yeah.
I have some favorites, but yeah, you basically, especially if you're putting some cream in there.
Like it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah. Great.
Love it.
What about coffee? People who like it in the afternoon.
Oh yeah, let's talk about this.
That is hard.
Let's talk about this.
That's a lot of, one of the big things in perimenopause that a lot of my population comes in with is sleep disturbance. And I'm like, we've got to get rid of that afternoon coffee. But is there a way to keep it, or are you totally like, it's not doable?
Okay, this is a conversation I just had. And it is, I generally say before 2 p.m. And that can be stretching it for some people. That's like more sensitive people, it's like noon, right? And maybe it's half calf. Maybe we dip our toe into the decaf world. For the most part, to me, sleep is queen. If your sleep is not where you want it to be, then like we really got to figure out how to support it.
Mhm.
So to me, the trade-off isn't worth it.
Totally.
My afternoon coffee is not worth
Being
not
up at
sleeping
night.
at night
Yeah.
because that leads to more hunger cues. And most of these people are still worried about weight.
Yeah.
So I kind of wrap it around. Let's talk about what that's really doing to
Yeah.
cortisol and how that's really impacting all these things.
Mhm.
So that one's tricky.
And it's usually someone who's going for the afternoon coffee. It's a sign that something else is going on,
Exactly.
right? Like, so
There's
let's
a
not
dip.
ignore that
Yeah.
because there's something that needs to be addressed
Yep.
there. Is it cortisol? Is it blood sugar?
Exactly.
Is it stress?
Exactly.
Is it overextending yourself?
Mhm.
Like, there's something else going on.
Exactly. I
Okay.
love that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about fasting windows?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have this kind of intermittent fasting thing out there. I am a hard and fast. We don't skip breakfast. That is the main meal of the day. If you do nothing else, it's a really great breakfast. It sets our blood sugar conversation for the day. It sets our hormone production conversation for the day. If we are going to shorten the window in which we eat, it is an earlier dinner.
Okay.
That is safer, if you will, in this safety signal conversation for our hormone and our cortisol production. If we are not sleeping well and it is a blood sugar issue, you don't really get to skip dinner. Maybe we put a fat-based snack. Maybe we also figure out your carbohydrate load because you might need a slow-burning carb to help in the middle of the night when we have some liver drawing energy that needs that. So if it's going to be a shortened window, shorten it in the afternoon, evening time.
Okay.
If I'm not sleeping well, you don't get to shorten it. Unless we've figured out the problem and it's not blood sugar.
Okay.
If it's hormones, right? If it's progesterone, great. Go that path and then you fix that with you.
Yeah.
And that's no problem.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a tricky space because most people go, not most, a handful of my people go, okay, I have my coffee. It's black. Emergency. I maybe eat at like noon. I'm not hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, oh my gosh, if we don't have hunger cues, that's a whole nother conversation around dysregulated cortisol. So it's a super dynamic environment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not usually one thing.
No. Yeah, never. I wish, right?
Yeah,
that'd be easy.
Yeah. Your job would be easy. I have had a bunch of people recently who are having sleep disturbance and we've done the hormone stuff and it's not helping enough. And then I've had them do a continuous glucose monitor and found that they were dropping.
Yeah.
Their blood sugar was dropping really, really low before they would wake up.
Yeah.
And then I think what was happening is that their body was like, oh gosh, red alert, produce cortisol, produce blood sugar from the gluconeogenesis. So like liver storage of glucose. Let's go ahead and just release all of that. And it's waking them up and then they fall back to sleep.
Yep. I find that a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of the times it's 1 to 3 a.m.
Yes.
Because it's this liver time, right?
Yep.
1 to 3 a.m. We're really starting to detoxify, but it's that some people do shoot awake and they're like, I have this jolt. Other, it's less prominent, but it still is this blood sugar dip. And then this emergency pathway that we have. It's beautiful. It's amazing that we have that.
Lives.
Not real great for sleep.
Not great for sleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's been really interesting. Obviously, type 1 diabetics who are insulin dependent or other people who are insulin dependent, the whole sleep glucose insulin regulation is a thing that we've known about for a really long time, 100 years probably. And so just applying some of that same logic to people who are not insulin dependent, but are maybe having other blood sugar dysfunction.
Yep.
So it's pretty cool.
So yeah, I will do either a little fat-based snack and it's a little bit of nuts, a little bit of olives, something that's, there's a little bit of carb in there. If it's more pronounced, some people do that and they're like, great, no problem, that totally fixed it. Others just need a little more carb at dinner. And it can be a brown rice. It can be beets and parsnips and the roasted veggie thing or legumes. But those are like the easiest fixes.
Okay.
That I can just be like, hey, alter that and let's see how it goes for the next week.
Okay.
And it's like, great, that did it. And then there's more around this just metabolic flexibility. We change metabolic flexibility by teaching ourselves to be good at using fat for fuel. And that happens with timing. Am I going too long between meals to where I have a big blood sugar dip? The same emergency conversation happens where we have to make glucose in our liver, gluconeogenesis, shoot out, big spike. But that's not metabolic flexibility. That's an emergency response to not being able to use fat for fuel, like this fat for fuel, right? So we learn how to use fat for fuel by introducing it. I do it by introducing fat-based snacks where it's truly my snack between breakfast and lunch and between lunch and dinner is a thing that's mostly fat. It's half an avocado, maybe a little bit of cheese, maybe olives, maybe nuts. And it's kind of that. And then when only that shows up, your body's like, fine, I will learn how to use fat for fuel. You're not going to give me crackers. You're not going to give me the apple. And it takes like 4 weeks for some people. It's kind of a fast learning curve. So we can really train ourselves to be more metabolically flexible in a pretty short amount of time with meal timing and just what we're physically putting in our body. It's really cool.
I have found, so I've followed your instructions with my daily diet, and it's when I am really good at it, I find I don't even crave the fruit or the chips or the crackers. Where like when I'm not as good about it and I'm not doing as much fat-based snacks and I'm not getting my protein in, I definitely feel like my body goes there. It's like, give me something easy to burn.
Yep.
And it's this very like deep craving where you're just like, I need some quick energy.
Yep. And the quickest thing is glucose.
It is.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so, but if you get on track and you really are eating the way that you advise, you don't even have that. That drive isn't even there, which is very cool.
It's very cool
to feel. And just, it really re-emphasizes this, oh, I am like retraining my metabolism. So that's very cool. So I can testify that it does work.
Yeah. I want to go in deeper into the perimenopause because what is also very, very interesting is you can be really good at that. And all of a sudden food noise creeps in where you're like, I know I've eaten really well and I've front loaded my day and I've done all the things, but I'm hungry when I'm normally not hungry, or I'm like wanting a carby thing when I'm really not hungry. So estrogen messes with the conversation of insulin, which we kind of touched on, but that turns into the food noise. That's where that's coming from. So those are some kind of like signs and symptoms that maybe were a little bit wonky. Maybe we have a conversation with Lauren. Maybe we get our blood sugar, or our blood tests done around hormones. But those things creep up even when we have not changed what we're eating. We've always eaten really well. And I've seen it in myself, which has been really fascinating, where I'm like, this wasn't a problem before. And now in the past couple months, I'm like, whoa, that's a conversation that I'm listening to. And I'm like super finely tuned into some of these conversations. But then we put that back into a cycling female who's like really rhythmic. In the first half, we've got higher estrogen. In the second half, from ovulation to bleed, right? Progesterone does its job. It's like the star of the show. When we have a little bit higher estrogen in a good way, we become a little insulin resistant, like on purpose, because your body's like, you might have a baby. If there's going to be a baby in there, we better keep a little extra glucose in the blood because your body needs it, right? This is this pretty like fuel intensive process. So then you're a little hungrier in your luteal phase. You burn more energy, burn more calories, burn more energy to the tune of like 250 calories a day.
That's significant.
That's significant.
Yeah.
And it explains so much. When I explain that to my ladies, they're like, oh my gosh, I see that pattern happening. But you can choose slower burning carbs instead of the chips and the crackers and whatever. And that will flatten that curve. That'll shut off some of the food noise. That helps the nutrient dense, magnesium's a big one, nutrient dense side of that to help it not be such a giant roller coaster around cravings. And I gained a couple pounds and now I'm a little bit anxious and kind of all of those symptoms that come with that.
Okay.
But it's weird in perimenopause. It's very cyclic earlier and then perimenopause shows up and things get wonky.
Yeah. Then the cycle isn't so cyclic.
Exactly.
It's just all over the place.
Yes. And like, why is that today but not tomorrow? Yeah.
And then post-menopause, so like when the ovaries have stopped hormone production and you've basically fallen off of this hormone cliff, I definitely see this like insulin resistance picture for people who have never worried about it before. They've never had any glucose management or insulin resistance problems. That rears its ugly head when someone is like fully menopausal and like not on any hormones.
Do you see that turnaround with hormones?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yes.
It's awesome.
So I do the same thing. I see the same thing. And I talk a lot about estrogen is really protective and it helps your cells use insulin. And so if your estrogen's here, when it was really happy here, we're missing information. And we can see that turn around, which is very cool.
Yeah. Love it. So how do you know, or what are some reasons or triggers for you to be like, you know what, I'm going to dive a little deeper into the actual digestion side? Because I know that's something else you specialize in.
Yeah.
What makes you go there with someone?
Okay, so I have a delightfully lengthy symptoms questionnaire. And so let's say you're just coming for perimenopause. I already have a whole bunch of information on, well, we're probably going to talk about digestion right away. And any version of constipation or loose stool or altering constipation and loose stool, or I poop every other day. People don't call that constipation. They're just like, oh yeah, I poop, but just every other day. That's constipation. So honestly, it's from the beginning. And I started right away with making sure we're getting enough fiber, like really easily accessible stuff. Supplementing with fiber is one of the most studied supplements ever of all time. And it's just so amazing for blood sugar and cholesterol and gut health and all the things. I love sun fiber. It's so gentle. Guar bean fiber instead of psyllium husk. Psyllium husk is, people use it a lot. It gets really thick and gelatinous, and there's like such a turnoff factor, I find, right? So compliance to that is really challenging. It can also be too abrasive for the GI tract. So if you have, let's say, a lot of GI inflammation, I want to make sure I do something super gentle. So fiber in real food, fiber from what I love, sun fiber for most people. Depends on what you got going on. And then I really work on food-based prebiotics. So we're really feeding the bacteria in the colon, not just anywhere else. Those are my very basics. And those are going to be enough to be like, awesome, we've got these wheels turning. We need really great digestion to help with estrogen metabolism and actually having recycled estrogen leave the body. If it doesn't leave the body, it goes back into the body. So now we can have wonky estrogen from this recycling process. And that can lead to weight gain. That can lead to other symptoms. So the GI has to go hand in hand. It depends on how symptomatic you are when you come in the door as to whether I dive deeper into a stool test or if we get into the supplement world around inflammation or even just motility issues. And so that's kind of a deeper dive. But it's truly from day one because of symptoms or do you have reflux, right? That's a whole nother side of, are we digesting well? What's happening with hydrochloric acid? So from the beginning, but depending on symptoms, we focus it a little bit more on hormone support, GI, adrenal glands, liver. Yeah.
I will tell patients often about that recycling process and it blows people's minds. Because I explain to them, like, well, steroid hormones are the most expensive thing that our body can make. It has fats and it has proteins and it has all this stuff to make it. It's a very complicated molecule. And so our body is going to do its best to pick it up and reuse it because it's very valuable.
Yeah.
So if you are having constipation, slow moving stool, not enough fiber in your diet, that's going to propagate that and make it more and more. Right?
Yep.
So that's such an easy hormone balancing solution.
Yeah.
To
Number
just
one,
increase your fiber.
Yep.
Get those old hormones out.
Yep. And if you look at your plate and half your plate is low starchy veggies and maybe a quarter-ish is a starchy thing, you've got a decent chunk of fiber.
Yeah.
That's like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yeah. Boom.
Fiber goals for women in perimenopause, how many grams, if you were to give a gram?
So 25 is the recommended. Some women I even am like, let's go closer to 30. And we just make sure that doesn't make us too loose because we can be a little overexcited about it. But 25 is the recommended.
What would you say the average American gets without trying?
7 to 15.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's not going to do it.
Yeah. Okay. That seems very easy and tangible with the diet stuff. And then the sun fiber. I also love the sun fiber.
Easy.
It's becoming more widely available. I feel like at first you could only find it on full script on my prescription supplement site. And now I'm starting to see it at stores.
Yeah. Natural Grocers has it. I haven't looked at Safeway in those places. Have you?
No, I haven't. Yeah. But I've been seeing it. I saw it at Whole Foods. I saw it at Natural Grocer. So it's becoming more available, which is great.
And I tell people, you don't want extra stuff in there. Don't let them put extra prebiotics or probiotics. You want just straight up fiber.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And I will put that in my smoothies.
Yes.
And I even put it in because I'm gluten-free and I feel like a lot of gluten-free flour doesn't have the fiber that a glutinous flour might have. So whenever I'm baking, I actually throw it in there too.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah. Just to kind of like amp up the whatever I'm cooking.
That's so smart. And if you just drink it in water, it almost disappears, right? And there's this much flavor.
Yeah.
Barely any flavor. So it's not, again, barrier to entry is low.
Yeah. It's not as bad as like the psyllium.
Exactly.
Where people have to choke it down.
Exactly.
Or they take capsules and they have to take 12 capsules a day. And people are like, I'm already taking 4 other things. I don't want to take 12 capsules of fiber.
I agree. I don't either. Yeah. I wouldn't do it.
No, it's really annoying. And also very expensive. It adds up really fast. So, okay. I love that. Okay. So I feel like this is a good tangent to maybe the weight discussion.
Okay.
Because, and I know you don't exclusively do weight loss stuff.
True.
But it comes along for the ride.
Everybody comes in with that.
It comes along for the ride of
Yeah.
perimenopause.
Yeah.
That's a top complaint
Yes.
of this hormonal shift
Totally.
that's happening. Also, I feel like it comes along for the ride with blood sugar dysfunction.
Yeah.
So,
And even with GI.
Yeah,
Even
totally.
with
You're right.
wacky bacteria.
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of give us your spin on that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to necessarily treat weight loss, but we're going to do all these other foundational things.
Yes.
Tell me how you would explain that to somebody.
Okay. So I definitely say we're coming in, we gain weight for so many reasons. It can be imbalance in hormones, not just estrogen, but cortisol. It could be thyroid, like imbalance in hormones. It can be inflammation. It can be stress. It can be overeating and underexercising. It can be so many things. And we're going to do all of this really deeply nourishing stuff that puts us into a place of safety, all about safety signals to then say, hey, body, you're safe enough to release. If now's the time to release a little bit of this, let's give it everything it can give it. But that's our path. Our path is not go eat these calories, go move this amount, good luck. So I always start with blood sugar regulation. If your blood sugar, if we've got like high highs and low lows, or it's just up and down, you're always going to be in a calorie storage mode, a fat storage mode, hands down. You cannot get out of weight loss and have screwy blood sugar. So I always start with blood sugar. Then we have to talk about the digestion and bacteria. We have bacteria that tells your body to stay at a certain weight or to gain weight because it thinks it's saving you. So if your bacteria is wacky, you're not going to lose weight. So maybe there's a clearing protocol that has to show up because we have Klebsiella or we have Citrobacter or some weird stuff growing in there. So I do a lot of educating around your body is always trying to survive. Like if we're not good at anything, we are good at surviving. Regardless of how much weight we gain, what's happening with insulin, we're going to survive as long as we can at our own detriment. And then if we kind of tip over into the cortisol, which we've talked about before, but high cortisol and low cortisol put us in a weight gaining mode or a weight sustaining. Same thing with estrogen. High or low says, hey, body, hold on to stuff. So we have to find this place of balance and support. And then down the road, and hopefully a couple months, your body then goes, I don't need all of this. Or we have the capacity to add a little strength training and we need muscle. Muscle is a glucose sink. It's where we want this to go. If we don't have a reservoir of muscle because we just haven't built it, we're not going to lose weight. We don't have a place to put this extra glucose. It's just a huge line of education around teaching our body to feel safe, especially in a time that is very, very chaotic. It is not inevitable, but a lot of people gain weight during this time. And maybe it's only a couple pounds, but it can be enough that my pants don't fit. And that's very annoying. And then that turns into value and a conversation around not liking myself or not liking my body and that relationship. If we are in that space, you can't hate yourself then, right? We're never going to release weight in a space of dislike or distrust. So some of that is bigger than me, right? That's not a space I can go into. I don't have that education, but I'm good at the other stuff. I'm good at safety signals with protein and cortisol, protein and carbohydrates and what time we eat and are we sleeping? If you don't sleep, you gain weight, right? Oh man, all the things.
Yeah.
So I always tell people I don't do a weight loss plan. The stuff we do will hopefully lead your body to feel safe enough to release some weight. And there might be tweaks around, okay, we do sit at a desk all day. We probably don't move enough. Big umbrella, if you're eating too much and not moving, for sure you're going to gain weight. But that by no means, that's very few people the main problem, right? That very, very seldom is that the main problem. It's all of these other hormonal conversations and gut bacteria conversations and stress, and that plays into that.
Yeah, and I see also even just the shifts of hormone production. So when you start to go through perimenopause and your cycles aren't as regular and your estrogen not spiking or lasting the way that it used to, you become this slightly estrogen deficient state. And then your body starts to store fat because it knows, oh, hey, the end is near. We're coming into menopause soon. I'm going to create this new endocrine organ, which is fatty tissue that holds on to hormones and helps produce estrogen.
Which is, again, brilliant.
Yeah, our body is like,
absolutely brilliant.
Save your life.
Yes. You're welcome. Get a bigger size of pants.
Yep. Exactly. So I will see when someone gets on hormones, whether that's in perimenopause or menopause, and we get them on hormones or even just herbal hormonal support, or we regulate their cycles or optimize their hormone production. Sometimes we will see some weight loss happen, but it's also the stop from gaining too. That is, so if you're sending your body this signal, like I am not in a hormone deficient state, a lot of times it'll halt, like the brakes on this storage mode. And it takes time. But
Patience.
and then same with you, it's like, it's not just hormones. If you are taking all the hormones and we have your hormones optimized, but you're not eating well,
or you're not pooping,
and you're not sleeping, and you're not moving, like, it's not going to work.
Nope.
It will make you feel better in a lot of ways, but it's not going to help with metabolism, weight, and all that stuff. So it is, as always, very individualized, very customized. Very much like you have to do this full intake with an integrative style provider to really get to the root cause.
Because otherwise it's just like darts at a dartboard, like good luck, good luck, good luck.
And GLP-1s.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if we could probably have a whole
Yes, we totally
a whole 30-minute discussion on GLP-1. So we won't go super deep into that. Let's save that for another day. But what I am seeing is that a lot of people want it because they've tried everything else, right? That is, relative, but they've tried everything else and they're like, I just need something to work now. And it does, for most people, it does do that. It moves the needle. And what I really like to do when people are on GLP-1s is really start to get those other habits in place. So the dietary stuff, the movement, the sleep, let's keep working on all this so you can get off of it and still maintain this gain that you've made.
Exactly.
So that's been a really big thing. And there's actually a lot of newer research and stuff coming out with perimenopause and menopause specifically, and that population benefiting from these GLP-1s for a lot of reasons. But there's some negatives that go with it, right? So like the digestive effects.
And constipation is like a big one. And so I cannot advise on prescription medications, but I have a handful on them, or people are kind of asking, educate me around, so I can do that. And it is like, there's a trade-off. Sure, I've lost a couple pounds, but what's really happening in the blood work, what's really happening from like an inside out perspective of, if I'm not pooping, then I'm not actually any healthier, even though my pants fit better. Right. So, but I've seen it do some really cool things. And especially like, I would love a conversation more around microdosing. Like, what's the definition of microdosing? And like, I've got a client I just finished up with this last week, and she has had a lifetime of ulcerative colitis and tons of pain. And we've done a bunch of stuff, and she felt really great. Couldn't lose the weight. And I kind of got to the point where I was like, listen, at this point, if we're really targeting weight loss, it's going to do stuff that I no longer feel is in your best interest around supporting the other parts of your health. She chose to go on a GLP-1, but she's on a super tiny dose. Her gut feels amazing, like better than we even got it, which I was like, that's a big deal. She's pooping regularly instead of like diarrhea. We got her to a really good spot, but this like tipped her over the edge, and she lost like 10 pounds, and she only wanted to lose 10 pounds.
Great.
So that, I don't love GLP-1s, and then I see some really kind of awesome things. So it's a weird place. And like you said, research is coming out, and maybe it's a tool, but not for everybody. It's really specific doses, or
as with all medications, it should not be just like blanket, everybody should take it.
That's
expensive. It can have consequences that are unintended. But for some people, it does like push them in the right direction.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And I'm excited to see just more and more data as the years go by of like how this is really affecting people. And also I'm very excited for it someday to be maybe more covered by insurance and not like that. It's such a barrier to access. That's a huge bummer. So but okay, maybe we should put that out there as a whole topic someday, because I think there's just so much more that people want to know about that.
And need and questions. Totally.
Great. Well, I feel like, is there anything else that you feel like you would be like, this is an important take home that we haven't covered?
We talked about it in our very first podcast with Melissa, but stress.
So
you can't get out of a blood sugar situation without dealing with stress. You can't get out of a anxiety, depression situation. None of these things. And it's not just say no to more stuff. It's not just don't be stressed, right? You really have to figure out like, how am I relating to the stressors that I can maybe not do anything about, right? Aging parents or kids, just being kids. What practices do I have in place? And maybe it's yoga, maybe it's breathing, maybe it's Tai Chi, maybe it's a walk on the river, but that has to be a really tight part of this perimenopause journey to get to the other side in a more healthful, sane, balanced way. You absolutely cannot just put stress to the side and be like, I'll deal with that when I get to retire. So that's a big one that we haven't really touched on, but it impacts all systems all the time. Yeah.
And stress is a different definition these days than it was even 20, 30 years ago with the development of just technology and cell phones and remote work and, it's just different. So if you go back just a couple hundred years and you walked or rode horses everywhere and you had one thing scheduled for the day and you only got news from the local sources, right? Like that was a very different world. So it takes a lot of intention these days to kind of close it down.
Yeah, to insulate. What do you want to not let in?
Yeah.
Right? Because stress, like you're saying, it's physical, mental, emotional. What am I reading? What am I watching? What am I interacting with? Am I overworking out? Right?
Yeah.
Have I decided to do marathons or get into this endurance training? Now's not the time to do it during perimenopause.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a big one.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. How do people find you?
Okay. So I do a free consult always because I really want to make sure we're on the same page. Food and lifestyle first. You have to want to make these changes or you're wasting time and money. So I always do that. My website is Nourished. I'm well nourished. WNourished.com. Email is great if you want to just like have some questions out there. And that's info@WNourished. But always the free chat. And then at that point, we go into either a 5-session package or hourly. I only do those two things. And it's how symptomatic. Are you kind of simple and we just have 3 sessions of tidying things up, or we kind of have a journey together? We meet about every month. So it ends up being about a 5-month package because it takes time, right? Like implementing any of this change, especially if we're looking for it to be like lifestyle, long-term change, takes time. So I love that. But you can find me there. I do have a little Instagram account. I think it's also WNourished. Do my best on that. But yeah, free consult is my favorite.
Okay. And then we host the monthly perimenopause,
which is so fun.
Is here in Bend locally and very often is at Tree of Life Acupuncture, but sometimes we're at other sites around town. And then, so you see people in person and remotely?
Yep. I'm one day a week in person and I just rent a lovely little space. Otherwise it is remote and I've got people all over the US. I can take people wherever. It's just a matter of time change and, aligning schedules. But yeah, I am certified, not licensed. Okay. So I can cross borders, no problem. I have a 3-year education in the nutrition therapy, that certification, and then I have the board certification. So it tells you I didn't just do this in 6 months. We've got a little bit more education and experience behind that.
I love that. And I will say, as a provider who refers to you a lot too, I really appreciate your depth of knowledge and the fact that you don't just have this little certification. You really know your stuff very, very deeply. And I also appreciate that you know your boundaries and when to refer to a provider. I just think that's important and it's something that is often overlooked. Yeah. So if there's any other providers listening that are like, I need a nutritionist who I can work with that understands the boundaries, I think you do a really good job at that.
Thank you. And you make it easy.
Quality.
You make it easy because I can be like, sending someone your way.
Yep. And then when we've shared clients with their permission, if they allow us to chat, we will do that. And that's also really nice too, because it just tightens the loop and people get better faster.
Yeah. And they appreciate it. They're like, oh my gosh, you're going to talk to Dr. Lauren for me? I don't have to send this email. I'm like, I'm on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Great.
Such a pleasure. Such an honor.
Thank you so much for being here. The time flew by and hopefully everybody enjoyed that and took some notes because you gave some super amazing tidbits today.
It was fun. This is fun.
So good. We'll have you back again soon.
Okay. Can't wait.
Thanks, Beth.